The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money.
When Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly lock onto a target, it's rarely just a conversation, it's a full-blown takedown, a strategic operation that leaves very little room for escape. And this time, the target was none other than Sunny Hostin, who clearly picked the absolute worst day to come in, acting like she was unbothered. From the moment the cameras started rolling, it was clear this wouldn't be any ordinary debate or casual exchange of ideas. No, this was something far more intense, a brutal intellectual showdown with zero scripts, no safety nets, and absolutely no filters. Sunny wasn't just facing opponents. She was stepping into the lion's den, where every word, every gesture, and every pause would be scrutinized and weaponized. There was no friendly moderator stepping in to ease the tension. No producers ready to cut to commercial if things got too heated, and no prepared notes to shield her from the onslaught. The air was thick with anticipation, but also a sense of impending reckoning. This was pure intellectual combat, raw, unvarnished, and unrelenting, and Sunny found herself caught completely off guard. It was the kind of pressure test that reveals everything about a person: their preparation, their composure, their depth of understanding, and, most importantly, their ability to think on their feet, under fire. Megyn Kelly entered the scene like a surgeon. Her demeanor calm but razor-sharp. Known for her trademark icy precision, she wielded her intellect like a scalpel, cutting through any attempt at evasion or deflection with a polished, unyielding focus. Every question Megyn asked was carefully calibrated to expose cracks, contradictions, or gaps in logic. She didn't need to raise her voice or resort to theatrics. Her measured tone and pointed inquiries did the work for her, making it clear that this wasn't just a debate, it was an examination. On the other side stood Charlie Kirk, a powerhouse of relentless energy and unapologetic bluntness. Unlike Megyn's surgical strikes, Charlie's approach was more like a sledgehammer, direct, unfiltered, and hitting hard. He came armed with a mountain of facts, figures, timelines, and evidence that weren't just meant to counter arguments but to dismantle them piece by piece. There was no fluff, no filler, just cold, hard data designed to hit where it hurt most. Charlie's style can be polarizing, but when it's on point, it leaves no room for excuses or empty rhetoric. He doesn't waste time on pleasantries or theatrics. He goes straight for the jugular. And then there was Sunny. She walked in with that signature confident grin, the kind of expression that says she's ready to school the room, to deliver lessons, and to dominate the conversation with her charisma and sharp tongue. At first glance, it seemed like she was in control, poised to command the narrative and steer the discussion on her terms. She had the swagger of someone who believed the stage was hers to own. But as the exchange unfolded, that grin slowly faded. The confident stride gave way to signs of discomfort, the sharp comebacks became less frequent, and the carefully crafted arguments started to show cracks. Sunny was no stranger to the spotlight. She's built a career on being a fearless commentator, a loud voice on controversial issues, and someone who thrives in the arena of public discourse. But this time, she was facing two adversaries who weren't there to play by the usual rules. Megyn and Charlie weren't interested in soundbites or political theater. They were there to expose inconsistencies, to challenge narratives, and to demand accountability. And under this intense scrutiny, Sunny's usual tactics faltered. With Megyn's icy precision, every attempt at deflection was met with a calm but relentless follow-up. And with Charlie's relentless barrage of facts, the usual talking points Sunny relied on seemed insufficient. Her confidence began to crack as she realized that she was on the defensive, scrambling to maintain control of a narrative that was slipping through her fingers. The verbal exchanges became more heated, the pauses longer, and the attempts to regain footing more desperate. By the end of this merciless intellectual duel, Sunny was visibly searching for an escape hatch, a way out of the pressure cooker she'd stepped into without a backup plan. Her pride, once so evident in her confident grin, was now hanging by a thread. The mask of invulnerability was slipping, revealing vulnerability that her fans rarely got to see. It was clear she was fighting to preserve what little dignity remained. As the facts and pointed questions mounted around her, This wasn't just a loss of a debate. It was a moment that exposed the limits of Sunny's armor. It showed what happens when confidence isn't backed by solid preparation and when charisma can't mask gaps in substance. It was a powerful reminder that in the world of public discourse, especially when faced with opponents like Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly, it's not enough to show up looking unbothered. You have to be ready, deeply informed, and able to withstand the relentless pressure of critical examination. And that day, Sunny Hostin found herself outmatched and outmaneuvered. The sharp precision of Megyn and the raw relentlessness of Charlie left no room for shortcuts or evasions. It was a masterclass in how to dismantle an opponent, not with noise, but with calm, methodical logic and facts. And for Sunny, the confident smile she arrived with was replaced by the desperate search for an exit, a silent acknowledgement that this was one confrontation she wasn't going to walk away from unscathed.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men actually voting more for him, and you have and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80%.
This wasn't just a roast; it was a full-on dissection broadcast live for all to see. Sunny loves to play the fearless truth-teller, but when real heat is turned on, that bravado crumbles fast. She showed up loaded with buzzwords and a holier-than attitude, but against two sharp, prepared minds, it didn't stand a chance. Sunny acts like she's the gatekeeper of society's morals, but this time, all she held was a big loss. Her confidence, loud but hollow, more cardboard than conviction. Her arguments, fragile, mostly just a whirlwind of cherry-picked headlines passed off as facts. Then came Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly. They didn't need a fancy debate stage, a moderator, or even a face-to-face setup to dismantle her fragile fortress of hot air. From opposite sides of the media spectrum, their goal was clear: expose the illusion. And they did it with surgical precision. Picture Sunny walking into the studio, acting like she's the voice of moral authority, each word dripping with that smug, "I care more than you" vibe, but passion without substance. It's just noise, and when that noise meets real, grounded arguments, it falls apart. Sunny's known for sound bites, catchy one-liners, meant to rile up her audience and paint anyone who disagrees, especially conservatives, as the enemy. That's her game, loud and proud, like she's on some televised moral crusade. But with Charlie and Megyn on the scene, those tired lines didn't stick. What happened next was a takedown she never saw coming.
Doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump and they don't want to be called stupid or...
Let's dive into Sunny Hostin's struggle with consistency, or rather, the lack of it. Her true talent isn't in balanced commentary. It's in picking and choosing when to be outraged, flipping that switch depending on which political side is under the microscope. If someone crosses her from the opposing camp, she lights up the room with fire and a full-blown monologue. But when it's someone from her own side, crickets. Not a word. No critique, just silence. That's not journalism. That's damage control, masquerading as moral righteousness. Holding both sides accountable. Not in her playbook. Her commentary often sounds less like a search for truth and more like a campaign rally speech. She's become less a journalist and more a polished spin artist, delivering outrage in neat, packaged segments. Enter Charlie Kirk. Subtlety isn't his trademark. But ironically, that blunt approach was exactly what worked. No shouting, just facts, receipts, timelines, stats, and the tough questions no one else dared to raise. While Sunny painted every conservative with the same broad brush, Kirk dug into the cracks in her story. And once those double standards were spotlighted, they were impossible to ignore. Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA and author of The College Scam, didn't just question her, he exposed the real cost. Regardless of whether I accept the apology, he said, what matters is if our students accept it. Thousands of young people were unfairly targeted with false accusations, shadowing their futures, all while the media looked the other way. Sunny's outrage, Kirk showed, wasn't about truth or justice, it was about crafting a tidy narrative for her audience. But when the facts came knocking, that carefully curated image began to unravel quickly. He didn't just call her out. He dismantled her position, piece by piece, voting records, public statements, and repeated patterns laid bare. Sunny's moral outrage ignited only when politically convenient. When extremism flared from the other side, she roared with fury, but when it came from her own camp, silence. No fiery speeches, no tears of concern, just dead air. That fierce justice warrior image, more of a costume than conviction. Now here's the sting. The self-proclaimed moral compass, caught waving the flag only when it suited her team colors. And then came the real knockout. Charlie swung like a man with a stack of receipts nobody wanted, uncovered. Megyn Kelly followed .com and unshaken, cracking open a binder like a seasoned lawyer. Methodically stacking cold, undeniable evidence. No yelling, no chaos, just surgical precision. Kirk hit hard with timelines and facts. And Megyn sliced through what remained with focused accuracy. Together, they weren't just challenging Sunny, they tore down the entire facade. What once appeared as moral clarity now looked like scripted outrage, personal bias, and a tightly managed narrative. It wasn't about principles, it was about performance. Despite the unraveling, Sunny kept marching forward with fiery speeches and claims of moral high ground. But beneath the noise, the truth had spoken. The self-appointed truth-teller was laid bare, not by insults, but by information. That's real journalism. It doesn't scream to be heard. It simply reveals. While Sunny built castles of commentary and indignation, Kirk and Kelly quietly worked. No viral clips. No dramatic walk-offs, just one thing outrage can't survive. Facts. And when waves of moral fury crash against a brand built on outrage instead of values, it's only a matter of time before the tide pulls it under. Sunny Hostin's image began to crumble further when her own family history came to light. Despite her narrative of fighting oppression on behalf of her son at Harvard, it was revealed she descended from slaveholders. And her privileged life, Notre Dame Law School, millions earned from The View, children attending Ivy League schools, stood in sharp contrast to her portrayal of systemic struggle. Just when you thought things couldn't heat up more, Megyn Kelly arrived calm, collected, and infinitely more dangerous than any shouting match. No volume needed, just cold, hard proof. Each page of her binder was a dagger, each fact a scalpel cutting through layers of smoke and mirrors. Theatrics. No snark, just undeniable truth delivered with the patience of someone who's seen it all before. Megyn wasn't there to defend. She was there to dissect. With every quiet revelation, she exposed the act for what it was, performance over principle. Sunny tries to cast herself as the liberal media's moral compass. But under real scrutiny, it's clear her outrage follows a predictable script: big emotion, grand claims, and glaring factual gaps that could be seen from space. Her takes on race, justice, and politics aren't just slanted, they're carefully trimmed highlight reels, edited to fit her narrative. Truth. It gets cut if it complicates the story or doesn't fuel the outrage. Megyn pointed out that Sunny's so-called truths aren't truths at all, they're outrage stories with predetermined endings. Every path leads to the same dramatic monologue, and moral performance, all theater. No substance. And then came the bigger picture. The media ecosystem that allows this cycle to thrive. Echo chambers, where big words and loud emotions drown out pushback, and truth is sacrificed for applause. But Megyn didn't shout. She simply laid out the facts and let the contradictions speak. When the noise faded, she stood alone, clear and unshaken. It was a masterclass in quiet demolition. Meanwhile, Sunny's attacks on others, like her comments about Brittany Mahomes supporting a Trump post, revealed the pattern. She weighs in with moral judgment while conveniently ignoring her own contradictions. No yelling, no insults, just facts and questions exposing the cardboard foundation beneath the bravado. Together, Kirk and Kelly were unstoppable. Kirk brought the raw firepower. Megyn delivered the precision strike. They didn't just challenge Sunny, they dismantled her image. What was sold as moral clarity looked more like scripted outrage mixed with personal bias. Sunny keeps delivering fiery speeches, claiming the high ground, but it's all noise, because once you pull back the curtain, the self-appointed truth-teller is left exposed not by insults, but by undeniable facts. Sunny Hostin wanted to be seen as the voice of reason, the cultural gatekeeper defending progressive values, but under pressure, She looked more like someone desperately patching a sinking ship with duct tape. What made the takedown so satisfying wasn't the shouting or insults, but the quiet precision, the steady pressure applied by two people unwilling to accept a performance as truth. They didn't mock or shout. They methodically revealed the contradictions until the whole act crumbled. Neither Kirk nor Kelly had to confront Sunny directly. No heated stage debate, no dramatic exchanges. Their outside the spotlight analysis hit harder than any showdown. It wasn't noise but reason that brought her down. The louder Sunny shouted from her moral high ground, the quieter the room became because her argument simply didn't hold. This entire episode serves as a reminder: the most effective takedowns don't come from chaos but from clarity. It's not insults that stick, it's evidence.
I think she went to Binghamton undergrad, and she went to Notre Dame Law School, which is a great law school. Her son right now is at Harvard. That son she wants us to think is sitting there oppressed, who she's got to fight on behalf of because America is so awful to him. They're educating him right now at Harvard University. And Jason, would you take a look at this? Because I'm going to guess, I haven't been to your house down in Tennessee, but I'm going to guess it doesn't look like this. This is Sunny Hostin's home in this shitty country that she can't stand, that doesn't treat Black people like Sunny well. She let People magazine feature her home. Look at this dump. This country sucks. She went to Notre Dame Law School. She makes millions on The View. Her son's at Harvard. I'm sure her daughter's at private school on her way to some Ivy League. This is where Sunny lives. And F off, America. I can't stand how you've kept us all in chains.
Peel back Sunny Hostin's fiery outrage, and what you discover isn't genuine conviction or principled standpoints. It's a carefully choreographed performance designed more for applause than for credibility. Her act plays perfectly to an audience hungry for emotional spectacle, not for thoughtful analysis. It's media theater at its finest, polished, rehearsed, and built to captivate, but lacking in the substance that true journalism demands. Behind the confident delivery and loud declarations lies a facade, one that crumbles quickly when tested by rigorous facts and unflinching logic. This time, that curtain didn't merely slip, it came crashing down spectacularly. What was once a stage set for moral authority was revealed to be little more than a fragile construct, held together by selective storytelling and strategic outrage. The episode serves as a powerful reminder of the dangers inherent when airtime is confused with authority, when having a microphone and camera doesn't guarantee truth, only the illusion of it. Sunny Hostin may possess a prominent platform, and the undeniable confidence that comes with it, but confidence alone cannot withstand the relentless pressure of facts and reasoned critique. When faced with sharp, methodical examination, her polished image falters. The carefully curated narrative she projects dissolves under scrutiny, exposing inconsistencies and revealing the gap between performance and principle. Standing in stark contrast are Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly, embodiments of calm, steady, and methodical truth-telling. Neither resorts to shouting matches or emotional outbursts. Instead, they wield cold, undeniable facts like weapons of precision. Their approach isn't about grandstanding or scoring cheap points. It's about exposing realities that others hope to obscure, cutting through noise with clarity and purpose. And when those facts land, the space for evasion disappears. There's nowhere left to hide behind slogans or sound bites. If this take resonated with you as deeply as it did with us, don't just be a passive observer. Hit that like button, subscribe to stay informed, and keep watching closely. Because in today's media landscape, where narratives are spun and facts often take a back seat, it's crucial that someone holds these figures accountable, especially those who claim to be the guardians of truth. The so-called truth coming from The View is under scrutiny now, more than ever. And trust us, this is only the beginning of a much larger reckoning.